This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, and welcome to this week's version of Navigating the Now. I'm Sue Casey, the developer of the belief repatterning technique, and I am so excited to have with me Sue Jamison, who's one of our practitioners who lives in the States, and she's going to give you a little bit more information about how to get a hold of her and all of that in just a bit. But welcome, Sue. So glad to see you.
Thank you, and I so appreciate and I'm grateful to be on and share my belief repatterning story.
So why don't you fill folks in on how did you stumble across belief repatterning? Because you're down in the States and I'm up in Canada. How did all this happen?
Well, it happened through the wonderful technology of internet radio when you were on Hay House and you had just started, your book came out, and I was finishing up on a divorce and felt very anxious about running into my former husband and girlfriend at the time, his girlfriend at the time. So I heard about belief repatterning through the radio show, listening to you and how you worked it, and you repatterned some people online, and you happened to be repatterning somebody who was going through a breakup. So it just seemed very clear an opportunity. So I got your book and I read it, and I would go for a walk and I would try some of the repatterning statements while I was walking, and I could feel it shift a little bit. And I thought, I could do better. So I connected with you to get one of your packages. And we started working together. I don't want to say how long ago, but it's been quite a while, 10 years or so. And we started just doing one-on-one sessions. And I think I did those for about 7 years till I came up to Calgary for one of the Flip Your Switch weekends. And I came with my partner at that time, and he's like, I started talking to him and I said, you know, I kind of want to do this. And he said, okay, I'll be your Phil and you'll be Sue's. And I said, okay. So I went through the practicum training and completed that last year in the COVID.
Yeah, yeah,
So
cool. And so you've been helping people and helping people move through just like you were helped with the repatterning process. And it's one of the things that's really interesting is that it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving, because I know that I have heard from so many people that they don't know how they would have navigated this last kind of year of uncertainty without having repatterning. So can you share a story about sort of something that came up through COVID that you were able to navigate through because you had the tools in your tool belt?
Well, last year had opportunities and challenges throughout. And because of the belief repatterning, I have a deep faith and trust that the highest good is always at work and the universe is supporting me. And in the States last year, we had a very big election, and navigating some of the divisional things that were going on sometimes would feel a little challenging. And especially at night when I was going to bed. And I would be like, oh, the stories would start swirling. And so I used one of the many things that I've come across, and that was just breathing and moving from my head to my heart, which I can only do because of belief repatterning. And so I would go into my heart and I'd say, okay, I'm going to fill my body with love. And so then I started visualizing this, but the visualization really kind of made me smile because it was soap bubbles. And so I would start down at my toes and just fill my body with soap bubbles and just sending this, and then I would shoot it out into the room that I was in, and then I would expand it to the house and then to my community. And I just kept pushing it and expanding it further till it encompassed the whole world. And I could just see these little soap bubbles popping all over the place. And it was just fun and entertaining, but it was also very soothing and grounding for me. And I would go to sleep and I would sleep very peacefully. And I just kept going back to the knowing that the highest good was working and that we would come out of this. We were learning something. We were here to learn something. And for me, it was just learning to send my energetic love out to everybody that I could. So
Draining you.
yeah, including me. It had to start with me. And that's a lot of what I do is it starts with me and then I share.
Yeah, fill yourself up first, because I know a lot of people have been sending light and love out into the world, and then they're getting really tapped out because the world is
Yeah.
of light and love through all of the challenges, as you said, and the opportunities are there. And I think you really nailed, one of the big awarenesses for a lot of people during this time is that they've got to fill themselves up first. It's about turning
Yeah.
within, taking care of you first. It's not selfish. It's like necessary. Yeah,
Yes.
I love the image of the soap bubbles, because it's like they're light and they're fun and they're playful, but they're also cleansing.
Mhm.
There's kind of like I'm seeing those little scrubby bubbles. It's been, yeah, cool. So, what would you say has been the greatest gift through this time? The biggest awareness, the kind of what you've come to, because it seems to be a really popular question people are asking. What's the gift of COVID for you?
Well, the gift of COVID for me was, I think as for a lot of people, was the slowdown. Um, I was fortunate that I kind of had we had traveled to Iceland and we had just gotten home. We got back into the United States the last day they were taking people back in. And so on that trip, my partner is like going, I don't know. And I'm just going, it's going to be okay. They're going to take care of us. We've got this. And we came back and we had no problems. The biggest hiccup was out of the tour group, I was the only one who lost their luggage coming home. And I was okay with that. It was like, it'll show up, I know. And it did a week later, but so that was for me part of the being in retirement from the corporate world allowed me to ease into this slowing down instead of it being a big shock for my system.
Mm-hmm.
So the slowdown allowed me to take appreciation for all the great things that I had going on. And I also said to people, if you're having trouble navigating this, I'm here to help. And I picked up, I think, 3 new clients to work with that helped complete my practicum. So, it was like, they were like, I am so overwhelmed. I said, okay, come on, we're just going to take a deep breath, and we started working and things started shifting for them and doing the belief repatterning with them and showing them ways that they can incorporate it for themselves. So I gave a lot of the booklets away with the words in them for them to pick a word every day. And I still have friends that I've given those to that still say, oh, my word for today is,
Nice.
and share it with me. So it's always fun.
And that would be like, one of the kind of standby tips is that just choose that word of intention each day so that you've got your mindset someplace. Would that be your go-to?
Yeah. And then for me, if I start to feel unsettled, it's like, how do I want to be? And I go back, that's kind of one of my basics. How do I want to be? How do I want to show up?
Nice. Nice. And so, I know that you work with people who are going through transition from, corporate world or work world into retirement. I know that you're also very interested in supporting people who are stepping into the relationship dating world.
Yeah.
Not the teenage version, but the version in our later life. Is
Yeah.
there other, like, I know that you'll help anybody who comes along, but are there other groups that you're really interested in supporting?
Well, my passion is supporting people who want to get to know deeper who they are. I think on a surface level, everybody says, oh, I know who I am. And then when we start talking, it's like, well, let's peel away the labels, mother, daughter, father, son, whatever, peel all of those away. Who are you? And then another question is, what makes you happy? And people who have been mothers and wives for so long, we're so used to giving, giving, giving that we forget to go back to who we are. And that authenticity of who we are is, to me, the basis of everything, because you have to be before you can share, give to others. So if you want a relationship in your life, you have to be the person you want to attract and bring them in. And so for me, I call myself a self-relationship coach, because that to me is where it starts. And everything else in your life just becomes easy when you're on the upside.
Yeah.
And that's belief repatterning.
Yeah, I think that, right now, what I'm hearing from everybody is like, trying to figure out what I'm going to put back in my life, because and it's like, it's not about what's going back. I'm hearing what you're saying is that's really, how am I moving forward in this relationship with myself, and where are my priorities? And so people are kind of on that, it's kind of like a lot of people I think are thinking it's all going to go back to like, February of 2020. And it's like, no, you're not.
No, I don't think so. Well, and think about it from the standpoint that it takes approximately 21 days to form a habit. So we've had a year of new habits being formed. And I found it kind of interesting because I go to a yoga class, and my yoga class was originally 10 people or less allowed in. And then they expanded it to 12. And now we're at 15. So I'm really grateful that they're slowly expanding it, because going back to a class of 25 from 10 would be such a shock to me. I would feel like my personal space was being invaded, because we would be so right on top of each other. Yet that's where we started. So I think about those things that will be changing. And it's like, well, do we want to go back to it? And yes, I'd like to travel, but will I travel internationally? Probably not for a little while, Will I go back to socializing in groups? Yeah, but they'll still be small. One of the things of having elderly siblings like myself is that we get to have our vaccines early, so we can get together probably in July.
Yeah.
So, but I think that there are some things that I would prefer, I'm just going to move forward with them. I don't want to go back. I always move forward. That's my motion, is forward. So,
yeah, and that's really what we all are. It's the, and yet people are like, I want to go back, and it's really, it's a challenge to do that. And there was something that you mentioned that I wanted to pick up on. That was really, it
the
was really,
habit.
it'll come back. It'll come back. So how do people get a hold of you, Sue?
They can reach me through my website at SueJamison.com, or belief repatterning through that website at Sue.Jamison, beliefrepatterning.com. So yeah, I'm easy to get a hold of.
Yeah, and I remember what it was, and it's this. It's each person has to really come to their own decision around how they are going to move forward, and that's one of the skill sets that you really have, that self-relationship coach. When you know who you are and how you want to be, then the do kind of comes from that.
Yes, and the it's confidence in that do, because you're not worried about all the chatter outside of you, the people and what they're saying and what they're thinking. It's like, I know who I am, and I'm strong in that. And so therefore, what you say and what you do, that's your job. This is mine.
But yeah, and that's a beautiful, beautiful way of putting it, because so many people are really, trying to convince others of their position. And it's like, I was talking with a work colleague yesterday, and she said, oh, and she was trying to convince me to not get the vaccine. And I said, I really respect where you're coming from. My partner's 95-year-old mom, and his 3 sisters live in Australia. And so like, that's going to be like one of the first things I do, is get on a plane to Australia.
Uh-huh.
To hear that you're going, I know that you guys love to travel, but you're going maybe not for a little while, right? And so each person needs to set their own scale of what's important to them, what's their priority, where they want to enter into things. And when you, like you say, when you know who you are, then you're not second guessing, you're not getting pulled back and forth, and should I wonder what, and all of that energy. It's very clear, this is where I am with it.
Yeah, and like when my gym opened up, and it's a small gym, as soon as I heard I could go back to working out, I was like, oh, yay, let's go. And my partner is like, no, 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 no. And he's like, I'm not telling you not to go, but I don't think you want to just jump right back in. So I sat with that, and I sat with his concerns, and what I decided was I'm going to go back. I waited another 2 weeks before I went back. And to ease his anxiety, I said, I'll wear a mask the whole time I'm working out. So from the time I get out of the car to the time I get back in the car, I'll have a mask on. And I said, and there's usually no more than 10 people at the gym at a time. I said, and we're not on top of each other. They're required to wear masks. They take our temperature when we go in. They're being COVID safe as the best they can. So he agreed to that and said, okay. And, you know, I've been healthy the whole year, and I'm grateful.
And that having the capability to repattern, get yourself solid. I know that your partner doesn't have the skill set that you have, but he's got that introduction so that he can too. And it just allows you then to be in that place of conversation rather than conflict, which is so important. All right, so I don't know if there's any questions from anybody that's listening in. You can pop it into the chat box or pop your mic on and we'll call you by name if there are any questions for Sue. While we're waiting for that to happen, anything that you would like to just share in terms of people listening? Like what's your wanting to leave them with?
If you think that you know who you are, I can take it deeper and make it stronger. And if you're not sure if you know who you are, well, contact me and we'll talk, because I can always shift whatever you're seeing as the downside to the upside. I've gotten very good at that, and that was always one of my strong suits before we even connected. So yeah, I think that helping people, being of service, is my biggest passion. So, and that goes with my gardening and my cooking. So
Perfect. So comment about loving the idea of authentically discovering ourselves first. And so wishing you a very grand day and a fabulous week into whatever our normal looks like today and tomorrow, because it's shifting constantly. So that's why we're kind of navigating the now rather than the normal, because as my friend across the street says, normal's a setting on the washing machine.
it really is, you know. I love not being normal.
There's that too. So thank you so much, Sue, for joining me today. And for those of you who are wanting to get a hold of Sue, which I highly recommend, she's very, very skilled, Sue.Jamison at beliefrepatterning.com, or you can go directly to Sue's website and there's a contact form there, SueJamison.com. Whereabouts are you located in the States? I know everybody's working online, but where are you located?
I am located in northern Kentucky, so I'm right on the Ohio River, close to Cincinnati. So Midwest is what we call it. So that's what you got.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And again, you can get a hold of Sue online at SueJamison.com. We're all being virtual, but even when in-person starts to happen, I think a lot of us are still going to be virtual. So lovely.
Yep, I think so.
And that's how we first met, was virtually. So superb to spend some time with you today, and I encourage everyone to, as Sue says, if you know who you are, you think you know who you are, deepen it so that when those things come, you can stand solid.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. I enjoyed this.
Take good care.